Hi everybody, Dr. Pingle here with a lesson on learning JOSM, the Java-based OpenStreetMap editor. So while you can use OpenStreetMap and use the ID editor, which is one of the browser editors, to do your work, much better is to use this editor right here, which is JOSM. So if you go to learnosm.org and you start on the beginner's guide, in part one of this, we had you work through the beginner's guide, but part two, we're working through the JOSM portion. So as it says here, OpenStreetMap contributors spend the bulk of their time editing, so it makes sense that they want to use a good editor. So when it says that most use JOSM, in my experience, that's true, and it really is a nice, easy way to get data into the system. If you hit Get Started, you'll get a page here, and the first thing that you want to do is download JOSM. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. Now you can launch this right here, and this will launch JOSM for you. We'll leave that for later. And it's going to download the application, and it's going to run it. It's fairly convenient. You have to agree to the permissions here, so that works just fine, and you would get a screen that looks like this. Now, I typically don't do it that way. What I usually do is I download this version, which is exactly the same as this one. So I'll just click on that. We'll download the same thing. Oh, and it actually had downloaded that already. So you might as well just download this straight away. Okay, so once you download it, so this is the file that was just downloaded. So we can click on that. We'll hit OK. And we're loading JOSM, and we get a screen that looks something like this. So it's good to kind of look this over, and especially remember the golden rules of OpenStreetMap. So don't copy from other maps. One of the reasons for this is that if you copy from a map that is copyrighted, then there's a good chance that the data that you produce out of that product also belongs to sort of the original author. So this is why using Google Maps and copying straight from that is not really recommended, because they want to make sure that that all of the data that's in here is free and clear of anybody else's claim. And definitely have fun, which I never have a problem with when I'm doing OpenStreetMap. It's actually pretty fun. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get some imagery in here. So what I like to do, or some data, we're going to download from OSM, and we're going to get a screen that comes up here that's going to give you a Slippy Map. So this is the term that kind of applies to Google Maps like things. We can kind of very easily pan around. By default, you're not kind of panning around. You have to use the scroll wheel to kind of zoom in and out. If you right-click on the map, you can pan it. So what I want to do is I'm going to zoom in on a particular area, and in this case, campus. So the map itself is going to tile in here. And I'm going to draw a rectangle that corresponds to the area that I want to download. So it's going to go and it's going to download all of this stuff. You can bookmark things, you can define a bounding box, you can define areas around places, you can use specific tile numbers if you know them, but probably most of the time you're just going to use a Slippy Map here. So we're going to hit download. It's going to contact the server and it's going to download all of that data. Now if you try to download something too big, you may get a warning that comes back and says, that's too much data, we can't handle that. And you'll notice that what we've downloaded here look like a bunch of vector data. It's just a bunch of points that are connected by lines, and you can sort of see some of the relations that have shown up here. What we want to do now is we want to bring in a base map layer. So we're going to go into imagery, and we've got a number of different options that you can use here. But we're going to bring in the Bing aerial imagery, and it'll tile on in. And you'll notice that Google is not on this list. So a couple of companies have been kind enough to kind of donate their imagery. Google's not among them, but Microsoft, Mapbox, and MapQuest have all provided some different satellite layers, and these may be different from each other. So as you're digitizing or as you're adding features, you may want to think about looking at different satellite photos to get more information. So we're going to zoom in here so that it's not just a big pile of nodes. So we're going to zoom in and take a look at it. I'm using my right mouse button to scroll around. And you can see that we've added a fair bit of data around the campus. We didn't download. You can kind of get to the limit of what we downloaded somewhere up here. So you want to kind of make sure that you've got a good buffer around the area that you want to work with. And you'll notice that a lot of these buildings aren't entered. I really don't know what these buildings are, so I don't want to try to add them in here. But we've got things like, I think, the bookstore over in this area. We've got a nice path here. There's a path that's right here. I don't know what that is, but if you knew, you could add that in there. Looks like some kind of footpath, so maybe we could just add that in here. Okay, so we've got a footpath that connects this parking lot down here all the way up here. It's more or less connected to this, and maybe we could pick a spot where we feel like it's connected the best. But let's go ahead and add this feature in. So we've got a couple of different options over here. We'll not worry about this, but this is saying that the Bing aerial imagery could be misaligned. So when they do these satellite orthorectifications, they try to pick out, they try to make what the picture is correspond with what's on the ground. But if the GPS is off, those can be off by anywhere between a meter or two, potentially more, depending on where you are. In this case, the Bing imagery for DeKalb is pretty good. Okay, so we're just going to not show that message again, and we'll get rid of it. Okay, so we've got a couple of options here that are the main two pieces that you're going to use here. So you've got draw nodes, where you're going to be adding features. You've got improving ways and accuracies, which is kind of handy if you're working with something that somebody drew in very coarsely. You can add in features. So this is a good one to try out. And select, move, rotate, and scale objects. So if you're editing features that already exist, maybe correcting boundaries or something like that, then that would be the thing that you want. In this case, we're going to add a new feature. So we're going to start down here, and we're just going to start adding this footpath in. And again, you don't want to go overboard. If you've got a straightaway, there's no need to put a bunch of nodes in here. So use kind of the minimum that you can get away with. Again, I'm holding down the right mouse button key to scroll away, and I'm not really sure where that terminates right now. So I'm just going to leave it alone. We'll hit escape. Now, what we've done here is we've added a feature, but we don't have any labels for it. So this really doesn't do anybody any good until we label the feature. So I'm going to click on select. I'm going to label that feature. And then right up here, we've got this window that says tags and memberships. So this is going to be what defines what this thing is. So unlike ID that kind of pops up these very helpful categories, it's kind of a blank slate. So if we wanted to add a category, we might select a key, and we can kind of look through here and see if we could figure it out. We'll get back to this here in a second. But another thing that we can do is we can load up the wiki for it. So we're going to look at the wiki for OpenStreetMap. And we're going to see if we can figure out how to do what's called a footpath. So we have an option here that says sidewalks. We've got a lot of different terminology. So remember that this is a system that's used all over the world. English is kind of its core language. But British English is different than North American English, and so we want to be careful about how we are marking these things. So we're going to mark this. This is kind of the default. Highway is our super category, and then equals, so this is what we're going to set it to. And we have all of these different options: footway, cycleway, path, bridgeway, or bridleway, sorry, and track. So you can kind of read through here and see what these are. And we're going to take a look at track, because that sounds good. So this says this track represents roads, mainly for agricultural use, and so on. It looks something like this. So they have a little picture here. So is what we're looking at there a track? Probably not. Probably what it is a footpath. And we could say paved we could say that it's not paved. So we'll say paved is no. All right, so we're going to go back. So we're going to label this highway, footway. Okay. And we're going to add another key here that says, well, let's go back and make sure that we're doing this right. We're going to take a look and, whoops, not paves, paved. So we're going to look at this key. So this key says surface, and we have a number of different options. So this is the tag that we want, right? So we're kind of going back between the wiki and the tagging mechanism to make sure that we get it right. So this is surface unpaved, and you'll notice that you kind of get prompted for the finished values. So I had typed in UN, and it's already suggested, do you mean unpaved? And I can just hit tab to accept that. So hit OK. So we've added this little piece in here. It's not connected up over here, which we generally would like to do. So we're going to modify this one more time. So this time, oops, I had selected, this is the draw nodes. What we really want is scale, move, and rotate. Actually, we do want the add nodes. We're just going to start here, and we're going to connect it up here. And you'll notice that as I mouse over, this track is highlighted. And so that's letting me know that this is going to snap to that track. So if I hit my left mouse button, I've added a node that is going to be common to the new way that I just created, but also to this one here. So this is going to be topologically intact, which is very helpful. We'll go back and we'll just check and make sure that this is all still marked as highway and surface. Looks like it is. So we're in good shape there. So we've added a little footpath to the data set. Now we want to update it. So it's always a good idea to sort of do a few updates and then to upload them, do a few more updates and upload them. So let's talk about how we upload things. We've got a couple of things over here. So we've got download data, which is what we did when we started. Now we're going to upload all of the changes to the active data layer. So we're going to hit upload. We're going to get a prompt here that says you're going to modify this stuff. How do you want to explain it? So it says provide a brief comment for the changes that you're uploading. We're going to say digitized from Bing imagery. And source of the changes, we'll again just say Bing imagery. Actually, here we want to say added a footpath. Great. Okay, we're going to go ahead and update. Great. And if this is your first time using this, it'll usually ask you for a login. In my case, I've done that already. So you may not get, that's why I didn't get asked for my username and login. It was already stored. So this is kind of the way to get started. There's a lot more to learn. So when you are just getting started, my recommendation is to work through these pieces until you get a good idea of how it works. I wanted to talk about one final setting. So that is, if you are working here and you want to edit, you can edit with remote control. So that's here. Within JOSM, this setting, let's see if I can find it. So we'll go to Preferences. And if we go down here, we've got this setting for Enable Remote Control. So this is what's going to enable you to start and import this data from a web source. So whether that's OpenStreetMap.org, or later if you want to use the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, this is where it's kind of important that you go and you enable the remote control and let it kind of access all of the stuff. We can download things to a new layer if we want to, and we can confirm these if we want to. But generally, as long as you click this button, you're going to be in good shape. So we can hit OK. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new layer here. And actually, let's just delete this data layer. So this is what we were working on. Great. So this is your layers. This is sort of like the table of contents view within ArcGIS. So I'm going to go back here. What I wanted to do is demonstrate this edit with remote control. So we're going to go to a new area. We're just going to go west to the town of Malta. We're going to hit edit and edit with remote control. So it's going to be contacting what is actually a little server that JOSM set on your own little machine. It can't be accessed by anything except locally. And so we can go in and we can check this out. And we can see that a lot of the roads in Malta have been added, but not necessarily a lot of other things. So probably what you'll find is that places like NIU, college campuses are relatively dense. But if you go to your hometown, if it's kind of a small town, you may find that not a lot has been in there, and what that means is that there's plenty of room to add more. So that wraps up what I wanted to show you with JOSM. Again, for this notebook, you're going to want to try to work through what you see over here, as well as edit a good number of features. And if you have any questions, be sure to post it to the forum. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye.